that's where I draw the line. Is I say I'm never going to buy a watch expecting to make money. If I make money, great. Okay, it's whatever. I have made money on watches, but I don't really care. Like it's not the reason I bought them. For certain watches, I will say, okay, let me try to minimize my loss, and that's for a
Yeah.
variety of reasons, right? First of all, maybe it's because it's just a really expensive watch, like you said, a $25,000 Patek, and I would prefer still to have some money left over, not to lose 70% on depreciation. Um, the thing is also, like, as an aside here, like the bar here is also higher, I think, compared to, like, because I was thinking about the car analogy, right? Like, how do people think about depreciation on cars? And I think it's very different, but that's because a car is such a utility item, right? It's like if you need a 7-seater SUV for your, like, your whole family, it doesn't matter what the depreciation is. You need a 7-seater SUV. You're not going to buy that 2-seater convertible just because it retains its value better, right? Like,
Probably doesn't.
Which even if it did, right, which it probably doesn't, right? Functional cars, practical cars tend to retain their value the best, anyways, right? But it's just that's less of an important concern because you need that car. You need it for utility. You need it in a timely manner because you have a job to perform, right? You need to commute, or you need to use it for towing or something, right? The bar is much higher for watches because you don't need to buy a watch. There's all these watches you can buy. There's no opportunity, like the opportunity cost from one watch to another is not a question of utility, right? It's a question of aesthetic, it's a question of enjoyment, and it's a question of value retention. So I would say that that's one thing, right? And so if you're buying an expensive watch, whatever expensive means to you, then, in most cases, obviously, I would hope that it retains value. The other thing is, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep a watch for a long time, right? Sometimes I'm on the fence about the watch. Sometimes I want to expand my horizons as a collector. And that means buying things I'm not sure about so that I can experience them, and hopefully through that learn something about myself. Right?
You're paying for an education.
Right. Learn something about how I feel about, like when I bought my first titanium watch, those Grand Seiko Snowflake. I was not sure about how I felt about titanium, right? A lot of people said they love titanium, right?
Oh,
Obviously,
you had the original Snowflake?
yes, the SPGA 011.
I'm currently going through an obsessive phase with that watch. I didn't know you actually owned one. Do you miss it?
No, honestly, because it was too big. It was 41 millimeters, which was too big in my taste, and it was titanium, which I realized I did not like. Right, despite all the hype about titanium, like, oh man, it feels so light. So I realized that personally, and I realized this 4 years ago, and it's still true today. I prefer a slightly heavier watch. Right,
for the last couple of weeks, that watch has just been short-circuiting my brain. I don't know why, but I am obsessed with that dial.
Yeah, I love the dial. The dial is great.
Again.
But the case, I wish they had used like a more iconic case, and I also wish it was less than 41 millimeters, and I wish they had not chosen titanium. But then without titanium, is it really the Snowflake?
Yeah. But the interesting thing is, like, I don't know if you would have known the answers to these, like, you wouldn't have had these realizations if you hadn't actually spent the money.
Exactly. You have to invest
lost a little bit of money on
right. You have to invest the money to learn these lessons, right? It's just the fact of life. You're never going to make the perfect decision the first time. You're going to evolve as an individual.
Yeah.
You're going to learn things about yourself, and these lessons cost something. They cost time, they cost money, they cost something. And I would just prefer, if I'm, reaching out, if I'm trying to expand my horizons, do something different, try something new, that I would pay a minimal cost, at least try to minimize the cost within reason of doing so. And that's why I think for those types of watches, I'm a bit more focused on, okay, is the watch good value for money? Or, if it's amazing value for money, like if I think I'm getting a steal, like I think intrinsically, this watch is worth way more than what I'm paying for it, then okay, value retention doesn't really matter. Because even if I lose 50% or 30%, I'm still doing really well in my mind because I value this watch so much. I think it's a steal. If the watch is a fair value, then I might say, okay, well, I'm not so sure. Am I really willing to sink $10,000 or however much money into this watch? I'm not sure. Okay, but it retains its value well. So maybe, in the short term, like I'll buy it. And if I realize something is wrong, I realize I don't like it, then the value is probably not going to change in 3 months significantly. I can go and sell that watch. And now I've gotten my lesson. I'll make a different decision next time.